On Halloween night 2014, Albertville High School and Guntersville High School will renew the oldest continuous rivalry in Alabama high school football history. In his book, Out of the Sand, Albertville historian and attorney, the late T.J. Carnes, described the rivalry in the following manner. In all the world of football, there has never been a rivalry more intense than that which has existed between Albertville and Guntersville. It was Athens and Sparta, Rome and Carthage all over again. Football was society's sanctioned method for giving vent to all the emotions and urges that rose from such a cauldron. The 7th District Agricultural School became Albertville High School in 1936, and Marshall County High School became Guntersville High School in 1969. The storied history of their athletic programs, players, and coaches have created a legacy of determination, dedication, and pride that inspire all past, present, and future Aggies and Wildcats. The Marshall County Sports Hall of Fame has already inducted over 60 football players and coaches from these two schools, with many more worthy nominees to follow. The Albertville High School Football Historical Society's website shows the overall series record in favor of Guntersville, 48-45, with 6 ties over the last 100 years. Football historians will point out that the Aggies and the Wildcats have had 2 lapses in the annual series, 1917 and 1918, due to World War I, and 1924 and 1925, due to a horrible fight that broke out after the 1923 game in Albertville over MCHS's use of a live goat to taunt the hillbillies from the SDAS. The series would resume continuously in 1926, with the teams playing 2 games per year during the years of 1943 and 1944, due to gasoline shortages during World War II and again in 1993 in the Alabama State Football Playoffs. The first Aggies versus Wildcat game was played on October 24, 1914, with Coach Toxie H. Sewell leading the Aggies to a 27-0 win. With the exception of a 0-0 tie in 1916, the Aggies won each contest until Guntersville's first victory in 1927. From 1933 to 1948, the Aggies fell on hard times, only managing 4 wins and 1 tie over MCHS. However, things were about to change for the Aggies. The golden era of football for both Albertville and Guntersville was the late 1940s through the early 1960s. Coach Joe Chorba and Percy Lee led the Wildcats from 1948 to 1960. In 1949, outgoing AHS coach Thomas Scoop Howard recommended 22-year-old Vernon Wells, a 3-year starter at quarterback for the University of Southern Mississippi, to lead the Aggies. Most of the Albertville, Guntersville, and other big rivalry games in Alabama used to be played on Thanksgiving Day. This ended as basketball season started their games earlier, and with the start of the high school football playoffs. The last Albertville versus Guntersville game that was played on Thanksgiving Day was in 1963, with the Aggies winning 31-7 during the G.B. Beasley era. After 5 straight wins over the Wildcats from 1961 to 1965, the Aggies fell on hard times for the next 7 years and could only manage a 14-14 tie in 1971, the last tie in the series. But things were about to change for the Aggies. After successful coaching stops at Butler, Fort Payne, and Plainview, Coach Vernon Wells returned to Albertville in 1973 to finish his illustrious coaching career. In 1973, the Aggies beat the Cats 35-16 to end the dismal streak. One of Wells' former players, Paul McAbee, answered the call to become the AHS head coach in 1990. His teams won 50 games as Coach Mack became the second winningest coach in Aggie history. His 1992 team played Coleman in the first round of the AHSAA football playoffs, upsetting the Bearcats 21-20. This was not only the first playoff win for Albertville, but the first playoff win for any Marshall County football team. Guntersville won their first playoff game the next year against an Aggie team that had defeated them 1 week earlier in the regular season. McAbee's teams in 1996, 97, and 98 were the last Aggies to beat the Wildcats 3 years in a row. In 2002, John Grass took over the head coaching duties for the Aggies and had immediate success with a wide-open offense. The Aggies went 7-3 in the regular season, including a 28-9 crushing of the Wildcats. State playoff wins over number 2 ranked Gardendale and Athens before falling to Hartselle in the quarterfinals gave the Aggies an overall 9-4 record. In 2003, Coach Sam Graham's squad trailed Guntersville by 2 touchdowns with less than 5 minutes to go in the game. The Aggies, led by Michael Darden, managed to tie the game with only seconds remaining. In overtime, Jay Raines kicked a field goal to defeat the Cats 27-24. The 100th game between Albertville and Guntersville will soon be played. It will be played with toughness and pride and passion and class. There will be a winner and there will be a loser. Regardless of which team wins this milestone game in the storied history of these two rival schools, the greatest and longest rivalry in Alabama high school sports will continue into its second century.
Big ball game between the Albertville Aggies and the Marshall County Wildcats from here in Guntersville. The Aggies are taking the field and the Wildcat band marching off the field. The pre-game ceremonies are now finished and will be set to get underway with the kickoff in just a few moments.